I am 28 years old and engaged to a woman, Jessica, she is 27, who I thought was my perfect match. We've been together for 4 years, and I proposed to her about 6 months ago. Everything was going great, or so I thought. Jessica started acting a bit distant a few months before the proposal, but I chalked it up to work stress. She's always been ambitious, working long hours at her marketing firm, and I respected that about her. We had a good thing going, you know? Shared dreams, inside jokes, the whole package. So when she said yes to my proposal, I thought we were solid. But about a month after getting engaged, she dropped a bomb on me that I'm still struggling to process. She told me she wanted an open relationship, but just for one time, before we tied the knot. She framed it as her wanting to get the what if out of her system. Jessica made it sound like it was about her personal growth or something, saying it would make her more committed in the long run. She said, "It's just one night, and it'll only make us stronger." I felt my stomach twist when she said that, but I didn't know what to say. I mean, what was she really asking? I love her, but I wasn't ready for this. After Jessica brought up the open relationship thing, things got weird fast. She was suddenly going out more, dressing up way more than usual, and always on her phone. She'd laugh at texts, quickly put her phone away, and tell me it was just her friends. She started using that "just one time" line like a broken record, trying to convince me it was no big deal. It felt like she was testing me, pushing my boundaries. She'd say stuff like, "Everyone does it before they get married," or "It's just a fling, no emotions." But I've never been okay with sharing, and I felt like she was slowly eroding my trust. The nail in the coffin was when she came home late one night, reeking of alcohol and perfume that wasn't hers. She stumbled in, giggling about some crazy night with her friends. I didn't push it that night because I didn't want to argue, but my gut told me something was off. It was like she was already living in that one-time mentality, except she hadn't even gotten my okay. A week later, Jessica's behavior had escalated. She was constantly glued to her phone, always turned away when I entered the room. I'd catch glimpses of her screen, but she was quick, always swiping or closing things out. One night, she passed out drunk on the couch after a supposed girls' night. Her phone was buzzing nonstop, and I couldn't resist checking it. And there it was, a whole stream of texts between her and a guy named Brian. They were planning meetups, talking about sex, and she was sending him selfies that I'd never seen before, things she'd never sent me. The worst part? She was using the same sweet nicknames she used for me. It felt like my heart had been ripped out. My hands were shaking, and I just sat there, staring at her passed-out form. I felt sick. The room was spinning. I put the phone down and went outside to clear my head. I couldn't believe it. She'd already done it that one time she said she wanted, and maybe more. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in any longer. I woke her up and laid it all out. I showed her the texts, and she had the nerve to say, "It's not what it looks like." She said Brian was just a friend, and that they were joking around. I couldn't believe the audacity. I felt my anger boiling over. I pushed her, asking how she could joke about sex with another man when we were supposed to be getting married. She started crying, saying it was all in good fun, and that she hadn't actually done anything. But when I pointed out the specific plans and photos, she shut down. She finally admitted that she had met up with Brian, but insisted it was just once. Jessica tried to spin it as a harmless fling that meant nothing, saying, "It's what I needed to know for sure that I'm ready for us." I felt like I was losing my mind. How was this supposed to make us stronger? I told her I needed space to think, and she got defensive, flipping it around like I was being unreasonable. After the confrontation, I was a mess. I want to stay with my buddy Mike for a few days. Mike's been my best friend since college, and he was just as shocked as I was. I couldn't stop thinking about the texts, the lies, and how easily she had dismissed my feelings. My mind kept replaying the moments when she'd look me in the eye and lie through her teeth. I felt betrayed, angry, and humiliated. I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs, or if I was to blame for her actions. I barely slept, and when I did, I had nightmares of them together. I couldn't eat, couldn't focus at work. I was just on autopilot, going through the motions. I kept checking her social media like a masochist, torturing myself with every new post. She was still out there, posting like nothing had changed. happy selfies, girls' nights out, and other bullshit. It was like she was living her best life while I was crumbling. Just when I thought things couldn't get worse, they did. I went back home to talk things through, thinking maybe we could figure something out. But when I got there, Jessica wasn't alone. Brian was in my house, sitting on my couch like he belonged there. I saw red. Jessica stood up, trying to explain it away, saying Brian had just stopped by to check on her because she was upset about us. I didn't even know how to respond. It was like she didn't even care about hiding it anymore. I told Brian to get the hell out, and after some back and forth, he finally left. Jessica and I had it out then and there. She finally admitted that it wasn't just one time, and that she had feelings for Brian. She had the audacity to say that maybe this was something we could work on together, like some fucked up threesome arrangement. I felt like I was losing my mind. I told her that wasn't what I signed up for, and she tried to turn it on me, saying I wasn't open-minded enough for her needs. I was done. I packed a bag and left without looking back. After I left, I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind racing. I couldn't believe how quickly my life had fallen apart. I kept replaying everything Jessica said, every excuse and lie. It felt like my world had been flipped upside down, and I was struggling to find solid ground. I ended up back at Mike's place, feeling more lost than ever. Mike tried to cheer me up with beer and video games, but I was too far gone. I kept thinking about what Jessica had said about not being open-minded enough. I started doubting myself, wondering if I was the problem. Was I too rigid? Too boring? But then I'd remember Brian sitting on my couch, and the anger would flare up again. The next few days were a blur. I called off work and spent my time lying on Mike's couch, scrolling through old photos of Jessica and me. Everything reminded me of what we had, or what I thought we had. I finally decided I needed to get my stuff from the apartment, so I texted Jessica to let her know I was coming over. When I got to the apartment, Jessica wasn't there, but Brian was. He was sitting on the couch, casually scrolling through his phone, like it was his place now. I was done playing nice. I told him to get out, but he just laughed and said Jessica had asked him to stay there while she was out. I lost it. I threw his stuff out the door and told him if he didn't leave, I'd call the cops. Brian finally left, muttering under his breath about how I needed to get over it. I started packing up my things, trying to ignore the photos of Jessica scattered around the apartment. As I was going through our bedroom, I found a box tucked away in the back of the closet. It was filled with keepsakes from our relationship, ticket stubs, photos, little notes we'd written to each other. But at the bottom of the box, there were also letters from Brian, dated months before Jessica even brought up the open relationship idea. It was clear now. This wasn't about Jessica wanting to explore before marriage. She'd been cheating all along. She was just trying to find a way to keep both of us around without feeling guilty. I felt like a complete idiot. All those times she'd said she was working late or out with friends, she was with him. It wasn't just a fling or one time. It was a full-on affair, and she'd been lying to my face for months. I called her, furious, demanding answers. Jessica just sighed and told me I was being dramatic, that it wasn't that serious. I hung up on her. I couldn't listen to another excuse or half-truth. I called off the engagement right then and there. I didn't care how much I loved her, how many good memories we had. She'd crossed a line, and there was no coming back from it. I packed up the rest of my stuff, left my key on the kitchen counter, and walked out. I didn't know where I was going, but I knew I couldn't stay in that apartment a second longer. It was filled with too many lies. The next few weeks were rough. I moved in with Mike temporarily while I looked for my own place. I blocked Jessica on everything: social media, phone, email. I couldn't deal with her anymore. She tried reaching out a few times, but I ignored her. There was nothing left to say. I felt like I'd lost not just a fiancé, but also my future. We'd been planning our wedding, talking about starting a family. Now all of that was gone, replaced by the bitter taste of betrayal. I started seeing a therapist, trying to work through the anger and sadness. It helped a little, but the wounds were still fresh. Friends and family reached out, offering their support. Everyone was shocked. No one saw this coming. Jessica had always been the sweet, bubbly one in our friend group. No one could believe she'd do something like this. But I guess you never really know someone, do you? Slowly, I started to rebuild my life. I found a new apartment, threw myself into work, and tried to keep busy. It was hard not to think about Jessica, especially when I'd see reminders of her everywhere. At our favorite coffee shop, in the playlists we used to listen to. But each day, it hurt a little less. I decided to take a trip to clear my head. I went to Colorado for a week, hiking and just trying to find some peace. It was the first time in months I felt like I could breathe again. I wasn't constantly looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next betrayal. I was finally starting to feel like myself again. I deleted all the photos of us together, boxed up the memories, and put them away. It felt like the right thing to do, like a step towards moving on. I started going out with friends more, reconnecting with people I'd drifted away from. It was like waking up after a long nightmare. One night, while out with friends, I met someone new. Her name was Sarah, and she was different from Jessica in every way. Down to earth, genuine, and no drama. We started talking, and before I knew it, we were laughing and swapping stories like we'd known each other for years. It felt good, like maybe I wasn't completely broken after all. We exchanged numbers, and over the next few weeks, we hung out a few times. Nothing serious, just enjoying each other's company. It was refreshing, being with someone who didn't have a hidden agenda or a list of lies ready to go. For the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful. Looking back, I realized there were red flags with Jessica all along. Little things I'd ignored or brushed off because I was so caught up in the idea of us. I was willing to overlook the lies, the secrets, because I thought we were in it together. But Jessica wasn't looking for a partner. She was looking for someone to fill the gaps while she did whatever she wanted. I'm not perfect. I made mistakes, too. I let things slide, didn't push back when I should have. But I've learned from this, and I'm not going to let someone else's choices define my worth. Jessica's actions were about her, not me, and I deserve better than that. Now, I'm focusing on myself, my career, my friends, my health. Sarah and I are still seeing each other, taking things slow, and that's fine by me. I'm not rushing into anything. I'm just enjoying life, one day at a time. I've realized that I don't need someone else to complete me. I'm enough on my own, and that's a pretty empowering feeling. I won't lie and say everything's perfect. I still have bad days where I think about what could have been, but they're fewer and farther between. And that's progress. I've learned that healing isn't linear, and that's okay. If I've learned anything from this whole mess, it's that honesty and communication are everything in a relationship. If someone can't give you that, they're not worth your time. Don't ignore the red flags, no matter how much you love someone. And never, ever settle for less than you deserve. Jessica taught me a hard lesson about trust, but I'm grateful in a way. She showed me what I don't want in a partner and what I need to be happy. And that's the best takeaway I could ask for. So, to anyone going through something similar, just know it gets better. You'll find your way out of the darkness. I did, and so can you.